So hi everyone, today in this video we're gonna develop another mental model that can be useful for you, since mental models are representations about all the reality work, and as much more you rest in, higher I believe is so the probability of you getting what you want. That tends to so be and have the prosperity. But you obviously to get and having that prosperity, you rely on grasping a bit of information so about how the reality works, because you can predict better so the outcomes of your actions, and then so choose ones that puts you in terms of likelihood more close so to get what you want. But then, so what's the one that I've been developing? It's common in the last videos is the mental model of putting to practice the knowledge that you already got. And then, so where you put to practice to solve problems that we face in our real world life. And then, so what's the one that we're gonna try to develop a non-technical solution? Because I'm not someone that has been studying this for a long. I'm not someone specialized in area, but I want you to show how by kind of grasping so these mental models that are like concepts that you take from all the type of areas of study that exist, economics, psychology, whatever is the field, you see how it can impact positively so the the type of problems so that we face in terms of creating solutions that are so useful. And then what's the one problem that we're going to solve? It's a one that I already have said, but then so we have to understand better the problem. So what do we have? 2.3 billion people they lack safe drinking water. So already something that we see. We are in a global water scarcity, but this is in a world that we still have like almost 30, like one third of people that still don't have like access to drinking water. So imagine if there's so with the developments that obviously that comes with the world going on, if more people so putting pressure in the side of demand so for these resources. Economic cost is that 260 billion year lost to droughts and conflicts, and future wars, 60% of global conflicts by 2030 will be water related. So the majority of the wars that exist in the world is always by resources, and then so it's something that we already have to see that it's probably going to make it to end, even will be a more reason so to create these conflicts in that, so making like a catalyst so for not having a sustainable world. But then so we have to start looking for the mental models that can explain the problem, and then the ones that can create solutions for them. A one that I think it's the most important one to understand why it exists is the tragedy of the commons. So the overexploitation, creation of the water resource is a lot extended by the tragedy of commons. So what's the idea of the tragedy of commons? Is that shared resources like rivers and so the aquifers are drained until collapse, because by no one's honing them, everyone treats them not in the most efficient way, because they believe that so if they're just only one that does this, it doesn't have that much impact. But by everyone's thinking in the same way, that my impact doesn't gonna so make it that much so in terms of contributing so for the resource not being sustainable and creating some bad type of things for the environment. The reality is that everyone's thinking about that, so we're gonna create an environment that the resource is gonna be overexploited. So we have to look for the fixes by understanding that this works. So how to kind of cut the existence of the tragedy of commons. So what's I like the fixes? Smart water the quotas. So you have examples. The Arizona's blockchain system tracks groundwater use. The farmers cut waste by 35% by doing this. And community ownership. The Bolivia's water wars reforms let village govern local sources, and also the existence of doesn't have so the existence of corporate rates. Two, another one that I think it's important is the mental model that calls about hysteresis. So the systems don't recover. What's the idea there is that the planet aquifers can't refill naturally. So you cannot just like think that if you stop, they're gonna come back. Sometimes they kind of so they can't do it by themselves. And then so what's the application of by understanding that this is something true? We have the Anshayan tech revival, the Rajasthan 1,000 and half years old stepwells recharge groundwater so they recharge groundwater revived in Kenya. It's something that so is made in Kenya. And we have the artificial intelligence guided rain harvesting. Bengaluru uses monsoon forecasts to trap 80% of rainfall versus so the 20% that were made before. Three, we have the prisoner's dilemma, though. So this truth destroys was the idea here that nations work water instead of cooperating. And then so what could be the fix? We have the Jordan Israel water pact. So solar desalination for Jordan makes so the Israel gets cheaper solar power. So shared gains for action. People get incorporated in their own benefits is something that seems to be smart. So to create this kind of alignment of incentives is something that's good. It's good to think. And then obviously by these elements, they kind of making they're like in a strategy game by resources. These prisoners dilemma so makes the world not getting better and more so the kind of promotion of cooperations for shared gains instead of just the competition to divide what is seems to be something positive. And we have another thing that is the Nile Basin Initiative, the Ethiopia, Egypt, Sudan were trade hydropower for water rights, and seems that the conflict has reduced to 70%. Four, we have to look a bit for leverage points. So small changes, big impacts. What's the idea is target hidden pressure points in systems. What's the application? The fix leaks first. So what is the example? Is Tokyo that cut water loss from 80% to 30% by repairing pipes, and this has saved 2 billion a year. And crop switching. California farmers replaced almonds with drought-resistant quinoa, so the water use has reduced to 60%. So see what's like the things that probably creates more waste, more consume, and see so if already by kind of eating in this type of like 20% of the applications, but they correspond to 80% of the waste. So seems to be the most leverage points that you could touch and have some more impact by each unity of energy input that you put so to create a solution and analyze the system. Five, I will obviously to causal bit the nudge theory, so behavioral tricks, so putting and using behavioral tricks to obviously so these things going on in creation of solution. The idea is that tiny prawns drive big conversation. What's the application so of knowing this methodology? Is that we can create the Cape Town's Day Zero, public dashboards showing neighbors usage as makes so the consumption halved in 6 months. And shower gamification, the Nebius app turns saving water in the competitions. The users cut 40% of usage by so this gamification of the consume of water. Six, anti-fragility, so driving cows. What's the idea there is that build systems that improve under stress. What's the fix here? Saudi solar desalination hubs use excess heat from solar panels to purify seawater, has reduced the costs by 80%, and the floating cities, the French Polynesia's sea stealing uses ocean water for hydrogen fuel, more drinking water. So, with all this talk, obviously, so we see how these mental models already help you to see the problem and create solutions by understanding them. See how useful, and I just have talked about six. Like exists like more than 1000 that you can still take ideas. That's what I want you to understand. You don't need like to always reading things to get these concepts. And that's the work that a lot of people have already done, and you so you don't need to kind of spend their time in doing all your all this type of stuff by yourself, instead of just focus on kind of grasp so these methodologies and putting them to practice. It's something that I recommend more. So integrated solutions, I have talked about some of them. Other ones, decentralized water grids, artificial intelligence priced waters like dynamic pricing based on scarcity. For example, Las Vegas penalized lounge, which some has saved 10 billion gallons a year. Virtual water trading, like export water heavy goods, like example cotton from water rich regions. Australia's model stabilized the Murray-Darling Basin. And then so obviously I expect you to have understand why this works. We have examples in Israel, in Namibia, and obviously so these elements have shown a good ROI that average so in water assess yields for so what you have is everyone in water assess yield is so make it the GDP increase by four times so by each unity of these wind water assess yields. So I expect this video to make you gain insight. I expect it was enough to make like the channel, to put a like, to subscribe, and I hope to see you in next videos in this channel. So thank you and see you in the next one.